Hey y'all, how's it going? So let me zoom out here. We're trading the S&P 500 futures on a 2000 tick chart. So here, I marked this here as a trap because we broke out of the overnight lows, and it looks like a breakout pullback because it's a breakout pullback, except you are closing back above, so you can look at that as almost like a fade, um, like it successfully faded. It's not like hugely successful because it barely closed back in, but it's not holding well as a breakout pullback. And so I don't think of that as a breakout pullback entry. And then here at this point, if you enter down here, you're entering at the very low of this big move down, which is the opposite of buy low, sell high, which is the number one rule anyway. So I don't think there's anything good there. But as soon as we break out here, we immediately rush back above. We get this failed second entry. Usually I would like stuff to be a little more big picture, more separated, but it happened right after we broke out, and there was enough room for 1-to-1 on this to get out before these channel highs. This isn't something I would push higher than that, because then it'd have to, either break and hold or go through the trend line up here. So I liked this entry just for 1-to-1, but yeah, it's just not great for bigger target than that, because usually if you want to go for a bigger target, you would want a more separated entry, like more full legs. This is just a to the tick failed second entry, but it has a pretty wide channel with enough room, so I like it. Anyways, we push higher. We get this correction to the EMA. It doesn't quite reach it, and the entry is all the way up here, so I don't like anything in here. We get up to here, we bounce early, which is the first sign of a bearish imbalance, which means that the bears, the sellers, are taking control of this range by not letting the buyers buy it up to the highs. So it's going through the EMA, it's rushing down. We finally get a correction once it breaks out again, and then none of these corrections get to the EMAs. I don't think there's anything good in here, no shorts in here. And then at this point, we do have a bearish imbalance. That doesn't mean you can't go long, but it just means, keep an eye out, because there's likely to be more bear entries. And it's better to limit in your long entries if you do find a good long. But at this point, we have these two legs down. First leg down, break, second leg down, but we haven't quite reached it. So it's like we have the big move. We know that we can get a measured move, and we have the first attempt to reach it here, and then a second attempt to reach it here. And I guess I don't want to skip over too much stuff. Let me go into the middle of it. So we break out again of the overnight lows. Most breakouts will fail. We rush back above the EMA, so it looks like it's instantly failing. We rush back above, we hold, we get this higher low. Now, I don't like this higher low, really, just because it's just a higher low. Now, the reason I don't like just the higher low is because of the bearish imbalance. So the bearish imbalance is still in play. This bearish measured move is still in play. So I would want a reversal pattern, failed second entry, not just a higher low. But we push higher here. We get a break. We correct all the way back down to the EMA. We rush below. We get this lower high. I didn't like this lower high because if you look at this, so we have this massive push higher, which could mean we can get a measured move, which we do end up getting a measured move. And considering we could get a measured move on this push higher here, it would be competing with this bearish measured move, which it's still in play, but the downtrend does have a break in a new low. This uptrend does not have a break in a new high. So I didn't like going short here when this uptrend had a break and then held above the EMA, closed above. It was just a little bit too risky, so I didn't want to take this right here. But we push lower, we bounce off the overnight low, we push back higher again. And so at this point, I'm wanting to get a second attempt higher here, or to reach this measured move here, because this push higher only happened after these two legs down, failing to break out of the overnight low. So we could get another move like that. We have this correction, and we could get the measured move from here, but I don't want to take just a higher low. Like I had mentioned before, it's just a higher low, kind of congested. that's not, the congestion isn't the main issue here. It's mainly that it's just a higher low with a bearish imbalance. It's just not a perfect entry. I would want more like a failed second entry, but by the time that you get it here, it's closing way too high up. That's just too big of an entry. And it's like the amount of points in this bar isn't necessarily what's too many. It's the size relative relative to all the other bars. So like if you got in at a decent entry price, you did fine on this. If you went for 1-to-1, there is a bearish imbalance in play, so you wouldn't want to be pushing it too high here. But if you got in at a decent entry price, you would have done fine, but the bar is so big, you wouldn't want to push it that high. So anyway, we push lower here, we get down to the overnight low. Now this is where there's actually a trade that I liked here. So here's what I liked about this. Oh, whoops, what did I do? Here we go. So all right, here we go. The thing I like about this is, even though this downtrend already has a break, new low, we can expect a reversal here. We get a big picture failed second entry. So this right here is a failed second entry. We can see first entry short, second entry short, failure. And it's at the perfect area to do that. Now, this, I wanted to get in with a limit order rather than a stop, because I didn't want to have to push through the EMA because of the bearish imbalance. So we did still have the bearish imbalance, but we got a perfect reversal trade. It's a perfect area for a reversal. There is a bearish imbalance in play, so I wanted to limit in to 1-to-1 and use a limit order to get out before the EMA. But yeah, so that's what I liked about it. It's a big picture, failed second entry, overshooting this short-term downtrend here. I really liked this trade. So anyway, there's that. And we push higher off the overnight lows. That seems very successful. We reached the measured move pretty quickly, and before we turn down. And then here I have another trap marked. So we push higher, we get this two-legged correction, but we close below the EMA, and then when we close back above, I see that we close back above, but we can tell that it kind of resisted the EMA, like it closed below, and then it pushed through, and then nearly closed back down on it or below it. That's just, you don't want to enter that, because it's a combination of the bearish bar right before and it barely being able to close back above right here, also with the fact that it's at the end of this measured move. So measured move has just been met, which means we could turn right back down, and then if a measured move gets met and then it closes below the EMA and then has an entry bar that can barely get back above the EMA, that's not a very good place to buy. So anyway, we push lower here, we bounce early, we have this move down, bounce back up. We can kind of see the range there just from the two, makes a move, takes it right back, so we can see the range pretty easily. And so we have this range here. I have this next trap marked. So this one, let me zoom out for you. We're at the measured move. We're forming these highs. We basically have a triple top. It's really a double top, even though there's two bounces here. Those are basically the same move. It's went up there, turned down, went up here. So basically just a double top here. EMA is flat, clear range. Uptrend is played out, and so then here when we rush back below, well, first this downtrend, it starts right here, but it resets when it comes back up here. And so the downtrend rushes below the EMA, and then we just get, that's the first attempt to make a new low, which is why I don't like it. It's just the first attempt to make a new low, and it's congested, so it's not a perfect entry. This one right here, it's still congested, but you do get a better entry further back. You get out before the low swing of that congestion. But the main thing is, it's the second attempt to make the new low for this downtrend. So this uptrend has played out. So at this point right here, at this point, this downtrend is the only trend that's in play, because the main uptrend, the main uptrend has played out because it has an uptrend, break, two attempts at a new high. It's played out. And so then this downtrend was in play, but then it reset when it came up here, and then this downtrend was the only trend that was in play. I guess you could say we have this very short-term uptrend in play, and then, you have this short-term uptrend, break, first attempt at a new high, which means that if you were expecting it to go down from here, you would have been expecting this uptrend to have a first attempt failure rather than a second attempt failure. So the market moves in twos, downtrend, break, first attempt lower, second attempt lower is when it worked. And then look at the inverse, uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, failure. So you got to look at the market moves in twos, enter on the second attempt, enter on the second attempt failure. It has a lot better odds than the first attempt. So anyway, we break out of this range lows, break out, we fade back in. I didn't really see a good entry here, a good long, because at the time, let me move this uptrend, it would have been off of those two lows and then it would have just broken, so it wasn't holding in this uptrend. I was thinking it could just be turning lower now, so I didn't take any longs in that. I guess I can leave it there for now. So I didn't take any longs in that. We rushed above. We correct down to the EMA. It gets extremely choppy very fast. Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, then I did move this. After this took off, I moved that there. And then I liked this. So this kind of reminded me of this one. It wasn't super big picture. It's a little bit more separated. This one's more separated than this one. But basically, it's an uptrend break. And then with these blue arrows, you can see first attempt at a new high, second attempt at a new high, closing below the EMA. We couldn't reach the highs of this range, which is basically confirming more. Like we couldn't reach these highs up here at first. It was being blocked by this double top that formed. It couldn't, for some reason, it couldn't reach up there, so it formed a double top. And then now a massive spike higher, couldn't reach the highs, and then a couple attempting it to make a new high. It still can't do it. Closing below the EMA. It's a failed second entry. And I just thought it was good to the lows here. So, and also there's still room inside of this channel as well, like that other one I mentioned. So yeah, that looks pretty good to me. And then here's a trap mark. It doesn't trigger right here, but it's an engulfing bar trap. I know someone took it. I forget your name, but anyway, they basically took it as a failed second entry. So kind of like here, how you can see this failed second entry, it's a little bit bigger picture. This one right here is just literally the ticks. You can't even really see how it's a failed second entry other than it's the ticks. So first entry short, second entry short, failure, engulfing bar. That's just way too short term. You got to go beyond just these little ticks. You know, you got to use the bodies. Look at the bodies more. Like first entry long, second entry long, failure. Not first entry long, second entry long, failure. That's like nothing. So that's just too short term, counting just by the ticks. Then here, a couple of y'all got in on this with me, all posted, so that's exciting. This trade right here, I drew it from the wick off that body to be safe, and then I didn't like entering in that, not until we got to close out of it. So this, we have a couple attempts down here. It's a little bit hard with that red one. So that blue measured move, we are right off of it, so it's a perfect measured move for that. It didn't quite reach it for this red one, but this trend line was holding. It wasn't holding perfectly because it technically closed out, but it was clearly accepting it. It was rejecting to the downside and accepting to the upside. It was clearly trying to fade this range. And then also, with this measured move here, this blue one, this second leg down was extremely sharp. That's very common to get symmetry. Notice how after it started taking off to the upside, it was like this. It was very fast down, very fast up. It made a V. So spikes will often get symmetry, especially if it's at a good entry area anyway, good context area anyway. So I do like this. I noticed someone else. I managed to get in one tick early. I don't know why I did that, but if I entered on one, that's funny. If I entered with the full stop entry, it would have screwed with me for a while. But which I saw that actually happened to someone in the site on this exact trade here. So anyway, I was lucky enough to get in one tick earlier, although some may say that it's not lucky because I could have gotten a little bit more technically. But anyway, we push higher here, big push up, pull back off the EMA. I don't think there's any good trades here. It's really just a, it is technically a failed second entry, first entry short, second entry short failure, but it's really just a bigger picture higher low, first entry long, entering really high up in the range. I don't see anything particularly good here. It's just, you can say, yeah, the failed second entry, but it's really just a big picture higher low, in my opinion. So there's nothing special about it. We push out of the range here. Let me extend this, sorry. We push out, break out, so now we can get a failed breakout possibly. We do have this uptrend in play, and then I did end up, after it took off here, I extended it, and then it ended up fitting here pretty well. So we could get a fade entry. I don't see anything particularly good because it's all within this uptrend, and then we don't get anything below which I should probably draw that for you. So this uptrend, I don't want to take anything that's inside of that as a short, and then we get this lower high with a horrible, very bullish signal bar, not good for a short. And then the next bar here rejects the EMA, and then by the time you get this bar, it's like, you're just entering with so many bars between your stop and your entry, so I wouldn't want to take that. But it's just not perfect context. We push lower, we get to the trend line, we end up getting extremely congestive. I don't think there's any good trades in here. You can kind of see this barely breakout pullback before you take off. It's all stopped right here, and then it can finally break through, pull back, and then it takes off. We rush above the EMA. We finally get this correction to the EMA. It closes below. It's not a good entry by any means. And yeah, then we push up to the overnight high, we push off of it, and then yeah, we just chop around this key entry point again. There's really nothing else. We can see this first entry long, second entry long failure. It is failing right now, but that doesn't mean it's had a good area to do it. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you all found it helpful, and yep, I'll see y'all next time.